If you like this video, please consider supporting me on Patreon. For just $1 a month, your name can appear at the beginning of this and many other upcoming videos.
Oh, Spike! I am so sorry. Please forgive me. You have to forgive me. I don't know what I did or why you are mad at me. Just please say you forgive me. Please.
Jesus, woman, have some dignity. One thing that many people have been wanting for a very long time is for the show to address Spike's ongoing crush on Rarity. It was funny at first, but after 9 seasons it just feels like it's going in circles and it hasn't gone anywhere. And it doesn't allow the relationship between the two to be anything more than a kid having a playful crush on his older friend. We want to see the relationship between the two do something different, which was something that I liked about the Summer Sun setback. But now, we finally have an episode that addresses how Spike has outgrown his crush on Rarity. But does Dragon Dropped do it right? Well, there's only one way to find out. Rarity finds out that Spike is being distracted by something, resulting in the two spending less time together. She soon discovers that Spike and Gabby have become friends and started hanging out more frequently than usual. Of course, without Spike around, Rarity starts to miss him and begins to feel jealous. Now she's determined to get his attention back, even if it means driving him away from Gabby. One thing that I really like about this episode is how it utilizes Gabby's character, and how she actually adds some value to the story overall. It would have been really simple for them to just make her into a random cameo who didn't do anything, or just drop her entirely and have her be forgotten. But they actually brought her back, and she still has that same upbeat and enthusiastic personality people liked in her original appearance. And it's fitting for her to be the one that Spike forms a new relationship with, since they do have a lot in common. And the time they spend together is actually really nice. Instead of just hanging around and talking, they actually do stuff. He keeps her company while she's working, and she doesn't make him carry any luggage like Rarity would. She shows him proper respect and is even willing to sacrifice her time with him to make him happy. And at the end of the episode, when she confronts Rarity, they settle their differences in a way that shows how Gabby is forgiving of her, and understands why she missed Spike. The episode is able to validate why Gabby is in it, because her dynamic with Spike is interesting and she fits into the story they're trying to tell. I think the only problem with her was how she reacted to Spike playing a game of O&O. I just feel like if someone is resting, they can still do something more mundane like play a simple board game. Does Gabby just think that people can play a small game while resting? On some level I can understand, since Spike was playing with the one who was bribing him away from her for 3 days, but the episode doesn't do enough to make it clear. Aside from that, I do like how Spike is characterized in the episode, in a way that doesn't feel out of place. He's not doing anything wrong, he's just broadening his horizons with the kind of people he spends time with. It's nice to see how calm and mature he is during the episode. In earlier seasons he might have had some kind of overreaction, but his behavior here really shows how he's grown up. And I really like seeing Spike being with someone who actually treats him properly. One of the more unsettling things about Spike's relationship with Rarity is how she basically uses him for labor. Not only that, but Spike reluctantly offers his servitude to her out of blind love. And seeing Spike deprave himself like that just got really old and uncomfortable. It makes the relationship between them seem really one-sided. But here, Spike isn't so oblivious or obsessed with Rarity at all. He manages to have his mind set on other things, which makes him feel more focused. And the episode manages to resolve his crush on her in a believable manner. They clearly make the implication that Spike has outgrown his crush while developing a more proper relationship with Gabby. But he also mentions how he still looks forward to his Rarity time. He's moved on from his crush, but also maintains a balance between Rarity and Gabby. He still sees Rarity as a good friend and was touched that she really does care about him. Now whenever he does something with Rarity, he'll do it because he genuinely cares about her and not because of some childish crush. After all these years, Spike and Rarity have finally formed a proper and more healthy relationship, where they care about each other but not in a romantic way. It especially works here because the relationship is reworked in a way that appropriately fits the episode's moral. Just because one of your friends starts hanging out with someone else doesn't mean they don't want to be your friend anymore. You can split time between friends without it coming across as neglectful or favoring one friend over the other. Gabby was never written as a new love interest. She was written as Spike's new friend, and the episode doesn't have him acting like he preferred Gabby over Rarity or vice versa. It was also necessary to address the unhealthy side of Spike and Rarity's dynamic while criticizing Rarity for taking advantage of him subconsciously. It's like the staff actually took the time to address the relationship in a mature manner, and now the two can be really close friends or even have a brother-sister dynamic. As for Rarity's over-the-top behavior, I find myself being both for and against it. On one hand, Rarity's jealousy comes across as really petty and unjustified. She spent years taking Spike for granted while he just did everything for her while she never returned his feelings for her. Now all of a sudden he starts an actual relationship with someone who treats him more properly and she's suddenly jealous of that? Seriously, Spike did things for her while she was fawning over other boys, but the moment Spike does it, she starts to act like this. The way she actively tries to sabotage Spike's friendship with Gabby feels really manipulative and cruel. She was really that jealous of a kid hanging out with another kid. It just makes her seem really shallow and that she's probably been abusing him by keeping him in the friend zone. I'm not necessarily against a character being selfish, but there is such a thing as being too selfish, and Rarity fits that bill here. His orbiting of her was put in jeopardy, so she just tries to take him for herself. And even when he's absent, she just has a bunch of her other friends act as her helper in his place. Rarity just loves Spike's attention too much to the point where she just expected it to be like that all the time. But she should have known that it wasn't gonna be the case. Even when Spike and Gabby start arguing, she just smiles and keeps playing the game. There's not being able to read a room, and then there's just being outright oblivious. But on the other hand, it does feel like a reasonable flaw for Rarity to have. She values Spike's company because it bolsters her confidence and makes her feel valued and loved. It's something that's been somewhat consistent throughout the series, and when that went away, she started missing it. It's like one of those things that has a sentimental value to it. She had Spike by her side for a long time and grew to care about him more. And when he was gone, she starts to realize how much he actually means to her. At this point, she starts to realize the importance of Spike's presence, but also understands that she can't keep him to herself. She learns to acknowledge Spike's feelings while accepting to let him go while staying by his side as a friend. I think the intention of the episode was to address the perception of Rarity just seeing Spike as a servant or taking advantage of him. Taking the time to show how in spite of her selfish moments, Rarity actually values him as a friend and wants to spend time with him casually. She takes the time to do things Spike likes while just hanging out with him and enjoying his company, even in instances where he's not helping her do anything. Rarity never actually ignored Spike. She just took him for granted, and she did come to realize that what she was doing was wrong. And that's the key to what helps make this episode work. Rarity learns an important lesson and sticks to it at the end of the episode. She owned up to her mistakes and made an effort to set things right, making amends to both Spike and Gabby and helping them to reconcile. She admitted to her wrongdoing and gave a heartfelt apology, and learned to accept Spike hanging out with somebody else besides her. This was actually some surprisingly deep and meaningful development for her character, learning to value and share her time with Spike after treating it like a one-sided ploy for so long. Not only does this act as a really good piece of closure between Spike and Rarity, but it maturely brings the overly drawn-out one-sided romance to a close. I wasn't expecting this episode to be as good as it was, but it turned out surprisingly well for how they handled its premise. The lesson is a really good lesson, and it gives Rarity believable character development while tying up a loose end that was long overdue. It may not be perfect, but it's certainly a well thought out episode and a fun one to watch. So until next time, take care of yourselves and stay awesome. This is Map signing out.